Good morning, everybody. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk. Sunday, November 29th, Thanksgiving weekend. Hope you all had a safe and happy holiday. Just a reminder, I want to thank all the groups that allow me to share the shows, whether it's this or the interview shows. I do always try to give you guys content that is relevant to what you do, what you're looking for when you're in these groups. So you'll get some college football. I'll share the college football to the college football groups, but you'll get a little bit of professional football. And the same with the professional football sites, you'll get a little bit of college football. But I'll promise you that you'll get plenty of both. So thank you for allowing me to share to your groups. And I appreciate any comments you guys want to make. We had some good comments last week from the groups who were growing in followers. And this is the way that we'll do it. And if there's anything you guys would like to see, if there's anything you think we can do better, hey, I'm ears. I did an interview with Rex Walters last week on Friday, and it's interesting because I had a comment with the guy. A person made a comment that he said, "Thank God," he goes, "when I watched the interview, I thought Rex was the bald guy when I came on." So I like a good joke. So anyway. Here we are. I wish I could get rid of this white light. Isn't that terrible? Hold on one second, guys. I got to do something. My lighting is making me very unhappy lately, and we're going to have to work on it a little bit. So anyway, we got a lot to cover today. I do hope you had a safe and happy Thanksgiving. As I said, it's a beautiful day here in East Greenbush, New York this morning. I think it's going to go close to 50 today. The sun is shining. There's really not a cloud in the sky. And we're happy to be alive. Crazy weekend yesterday. A crazy NFL weekend coming up. We'll cover it all. I mean, I got a lot to get onto here today. I'll talk about, the only thing I'm going to talk about probably outside of college football and pro football is a little bit about the farce of the Tyson Jones fight, maybe last night if we have some time in between. We'll see how it goes. Too much to cover in college. Guys, Saturday after Thanksgiving, normally big rivalry weekend for college football. It's normally Ohio State. Years ago, it would have been Nebraska, Oklahoma. We did have some Texas A&M, all those schools, big rivalry games. We didn't have them this weekend because the schedule's in such disarray. Some of them still will be played, some won't be played. We had a couple that did come off yesterday, which we'll talk about briefly. I'll probably concentrate mostly on the things that are going to affect the playoff situation in college football. So we won't cover the whole scoreboard this week, but again, COVID-19 continues to wreak havoc with the schedule. 11 more games canceled or postponed. I keep saying they're still calling some of these games postponed. I don't know how they can all be postponed. We're running out of time. The NCAA pretty much guaranteed yesterday that they will have their final playoff rankings out December 20th. So, that kind of is the day after most of the conference championship games. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can get all these games in there. We'll talk about a little bit some of the implications going forward. There's a lot of teams affected. So that's one of the big stories. Again, 11 games postponed or canceled, 4 in the top 25. Another big story is the county of Santa Clara in California has put in new health restrictions that won't allow any of the schools to practice or play in that county for the next 3 weeks minimum. Now, that affects the 49ers in the NFL, which we'll talk about in a little while, but it also affects Stanford. It affects San Jose State, both in basketball and football. The basketball season did kick off this past week. It also affects Santa Clara College for basketball. So, and there's probably some other small schools that it affects as well. So, again, COVID continues to be a problem. And we're heading into a bit of a scary time because we don't know what to expect these next few weeks. With the Thanksgiving gatherings, and I don't know what it was like in your state, but they'd asked us to keep them mandated that we keep them below 10. Obviously, I doubt that was enforced. I have not seen anything on the news where anybody was hauled off to jail for having 11 people at their Thanksgiving dinner. We won't get into that discussion right now. But this is a real problem, guys. This isn't a hoax. This is a real thing. And it's affecting a lot of teams. Nick Saban out yesterday. Ryan Day. Ohio State did not play. Their game was postponed. But Ryan Day. So a lot of coaches have come down with this. It isn't just players. So it affects the teams and their families, and more than just the games that we want to watch, right? So we have to be safe. I know we want to see them, but we have to be safe. So a lot of things, are out of whack. A normally big rivalry weekend was not such. We had a few. Some big stories, though, in the NCAA yesterday. I'm going to start with one that's very interesting. Sarah Fuller is a kicker. She's going to Vanderbilt. She's the first female athlete ever to suit up, at least at 1AA, FBS conferences. So there could have been some in the lower conferences, or the lower tiers of the NCAA leagues. But I don't think so. As far as I know, she's the first female player to suit up for a team. She's a kicker. She didn't get to do much. She got to kick off in the second half and executed, I guess, a perfect squib kick that was called for to start the second half. And she actually is now the leader in yardage allowed on kickoff returns with one kick. I think it's a big story. Again, I'm not sure where I stand on women being able to. Should they be able to compete? Sure. Here's a school of thought. Some women think women trying to compete in men's sports will diminish the women's sports itself. But just by them saying it's not, it's not high performance enough. And some are going to say the safety issues. Well, first of all, they'll say the women can't compete. Some can. Kickers. Hey, if you watch Last Man Standing, his daughter Eve is one of the best kickers in the history of her high school. Just throw that aside in. But I think it's a big deal. The safety issue is the big thing. Even a kicker. You do kickoff returns. Possibly one reason there was a squib kick to start the half. I don't know. I'm not offering an opinion either way. It's a great story. Not sure whether this is something that will get legs and there'll be a lot of, because I think the safety factor, the guys they're monsters out there. They're fast. They're huge. Maybe 40 years ago, but today, these guys are like human missiles coming at you. So I would fear for somebody's safety. But congratulations to Sarah Fuller on being the first woman to participate, suit up or participate in an NCAA game. So I welcome you all in again. I'm talking a little bit about some of the stories from the NCAA yesterday. We got a lot to cover here, and then we'll get into the NFL. Another story, Jared Patterson from Buffalo, 409 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns yesterday. One tied a record, 8 touchdowns. The other was just short of a record. His coach actually apologized to him through the media, well, probably personally and through the media yesterday, because he took him out. It was a blowout, but he didn't really realize where he stood. 23. He took him out on the next drive, and his replacement actually carried the ball 23 yards for a touchdown the next play, and he would have had. I'll get to that in a second, Rick. Both of those would have given him the record for rushing yards in a game. It's hard to believe that it's more than 409, but it is. And He would have broke the record for touchdowns with 9. So a great story there. May have put himself in the conversation for the Heisman. Who knows? He's had a tremendous year. And we'll get to my Heisman rankings here in a little bit. Rick Sherlock had commented that she kicked off and ran off the field, putting her team 10 on 11. Agreed, but again, that's why they squibbed it anyway, so there wasn't going to be a return. So, I don't know. There's going to be a school thought that it's a gimmick. There's going to be a school thought that I just don't think, football is not someplace that I don't think women can compete just because of these guys are monsters out there. There could be other sports they could compete. This isn't one of them. What else do I have here? Trevor Lawrence returns after over a month off due to his own COVID-19 positive test, and then some postponements, which I don't know that they're going to make up. Florida State, I still think, was looking to avoid a whipping last week. But again, with everything that's going on, it's hard for me to take that stance too solidly because safety is certainly a main factor. But I think if Florida State was that concerned about the game, they would have done something before Florida State flew there last week. In any event, Trevor Lawrence returns yesterday against Pittsburgh, and they rolled against Pittsburgh. He threw for 400 yards and a couple touchdowns. Might be too late for him now in the Heisman chase after missing some games, and Kyle Trask and Mac Jones really moving ahead of him. But we'll see. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. What else do I want to cover? We talked about Nick Saban missing the game yesterday, but Alabama was not affected as they rolled against Auburn. 25.5 points sure looked appealing when I made that play. I'll let you figure that out for yourself. Nick said he only screamed at the TV a few times, and I'm guessing probably somewhere in the third quarter he might have turned it off and watched, Blazing Saddles on some channel. I don't know. I probably would have. Syracuse. Oh my God. The end of the Syracuse game is just fitting for this. It's fitting for 2020. It's fitting for the pitiful season that let me fix my screen here a little. I seem to have crawled up a little. It's fitting for the season that Syracuse has had with one win. So they're down 7 against NC State. It's third down goal. And their quarterback, who I didn't jot down his name. I've got his name here somewhere, and I forget his name all the time. I guess it's not important because after he graduates here, we're never going to hear of him again. Anyway, third and goal. He scrambles. He runs 11 seconds off the clock. There's only 20-some seconds left. He runs 11 seconds off the clock, scrambling, ends up getting sacked for a loss. Hustles on third down. Hustles his team to the line and spikes the ball. Fourth down. Only Tom Brady forgets how many downs there are. I think it's very fitting. I just think it's very fitting for the season that Syracuse has had. Northwestern, Michigan State. Northwestern, a great story. Put themselves in play for the playoff consideration. I think they were ranked in the top 10, I think 8, when the first playoff rankings came out last week. And they blew it. They fell behind 17-0, I think, to Michigan State. They came back, they rallied, but they ended up losing on a field goal at the end of the game, and that'll dash their hopes. Probably, well, they could still be in the hunt to be in the Big Ten championship game, but with the Big Ten situation, again, I don't know that Big Ten is going to get a team in. There's a lot to play here, excuse me, with the Big Ten. First of all, there's a late start, less games. Again, Ohio State's played 4 games. I believe 4 games. Postponed yesterday. Ohio State may not be able to play in the Big Ten championship game because of a rule they put in that a team had to play 6 games to be eligible for the championship game. So again, the Big Ten has done a lot of adjusting of rules on the fly, so it's possible this will change still. But Ohio State now is in danger of missing a playoff game. How are they going to take? First of all, it's debatable whether Ohio State's one of the top 4 teams in the country. There's no doubt about it. But how are they going to take a team that played? I mean, they may have only played 5 games. It's possible. They don't play in the Big Ten championship game. It's possible they'll play 5 games. We don't know what's going to happen with COVID the next 3 or 4 weeks. I guess it's only 3 weeks until their championship games, December 19th. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting the next few weeks. If they have a postponement or don't get to that playoff game, then they're only going to play 5 games. You know, Northwestern kind of took themselves out of the hunt for the playoff yesterday. So that would leave the Big Ten on the outside looking in for the playoff if that happens. We'll talk more about the playoff in a second. That's a shame. I can't read my writing. Oh, Penn State finally wins. How about that? Probably for the 3rd time this year, Keith idiotically took Michigan. It's a pick 'em. But Keith takes Michigan. Bad week for Keith so far. I've been doing well in, I haven't done well in my NFL picks necessarily. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I've held my own with college, and again, in this little wagering club that we have, I've held my own. Stayed even. Bad week this week, man. 0 for 5 so far. Like Cowboys on Thursday. We'll talk about them later. Anyway, Penn State finally beats Michigan. Michigan's horrible. I don't know what the deal is with again, we've talked about this before. Jim Harbaugh, I think, will leave. I don't think Jim Harbaugh will be fired in any way, shape, or form. The president loves him, as I've talked about here before. He loves what he's done with academics. But again, you got to win. And he's starting to feel the heat. And I think Jim's probably going to gracefully exit, get himself an NFL job, which we'll talk about maybe in the NFL section. So those are the big stories. We'll look at the top 25 scores here real quick. I'm just seeing if I missed anything I wanted to chat about. Trevor Lawrence. I forgot about this. I guess I can talk about it as we get to the scoreboard here. Let's just jump to the score. I'm only going to touch on the top 25 scores today, the scores that really affect the playoff chase or conference championship games. So let's look at that. And so Friday, Notre Dame, again, very important game because they need to keep winning, and North Carolina was a live dog in this game. Didn't bet it, but I would have been on North Carolina, to be honest with you, with the points at home. And Notre Dame won handily, 31-17. They'll probably keep their number 2 ranking easily this week when the playoff rankings come out. These are Friday games. Iowa State, probably a lock for the Big 12 conference championship game, beats Texas. A very disappointing year for Texas again. 5-3 in the conference. Sam Ehlinger played well below his expectations. There's 893 college football teams. Billy wants to run through all the scores. I only do FBS Division I AA, Bill, so that number is bogus, by the way. So do some more research. I'm not going to run through all the games today. I've been interested. It's been an interesting season. One of the reasons I ran through all the scores up until now is, teams that aren't in the top 20 have a chance to move up and get in playoff consideration. And now, the top 25 is pretty much who's going to be in play. Other games Friday, Oregon probably doomed the Pac-12's any small chance, tiny little chance that the Pac-12 had of getting a team into the playoffs. The championship playoff is gone as they blow the game to Oregon State. They had a lead and they get outscored 22-7 in the fourth quarter. and they lose to an unranked Oregon State team, one of the few rivalry games that survived the weekend. Iowa beats Nebraska 26-20. Again, Fridays after, I know you guys, Rick, by the way, good morning, Rick. Good morning, Bill. Good morning to anybody else I can't see, because I know there are some of you that I don't see in a room. Friday after Thanksgiving, when I was a kid, and even not a kid, just a younger man, Friday after Thanksgiving was great for college football, right? We saw some of the best games. Oklahoma and Nebraska would play that day a lot of times. Texas A&M, Miami, BC, the Flutie, the Miracle in Miami. That game was on a Friday after Thanksgiving. We don't seem to get those matchups anymore. We got Iowa and Nebraska, Oregon State. I guess Notre Dame and Carolina is a fairly elite matchup, but it's kind of a shame we don't get that anymore. Again, more traditions that have gone by, and I guess as I've gotten into my 60s, gosh, I know I look 75 probably, but I am only in my 60s. I'm too old school. Let's move on. Alabama crushes Auburn, as I said earlier, and they don't need Nick Saban apparently to coach. Steve Sarkisian coached the team very well yesterday. Probably be in line for a lot of the jobs that will come open. We'll probably be concentrating on that here in the weeks to come as the games start to dwindle and maybe some of the storylines change. Clemson rolls over Pittsburgh, as I said. They are going to be solidly at probably that 3 spot in the playoff again. Texas A&M, ranked 5th in the playoffs rankings. So last week with the first release of them, really did not play well. They beat LSU yesterday, 20-7. It looks dominating, but their offense was atrocious. Their defense played great, and they've got to really kind of get it together. I mean, they ran the ball well. Spiller ran for 141 yards, I guess, but Monda played horrible at quarterback, and they've got to play better offense. If they're going to sneak their way into this playoff and then compete once they get there, if they should get there. Another game, Keith, just to touch on the travails of Keith's wagering for the weekend. As I said, I'm 0 for 5 right now. Bad week. A&M was anywhere from a 13.5 to a 15-point favorite. So guess what? LSU scored with about 10 seconds left in the game to make it a 13-point game. You can figure out the rest. Florida rolls over Kentucky. I got to tell you, I moved off of a couple teams early, too, and I should have. God, I was watching Game Day, and they talked me out of a couple places I wanted to go. I wanted to take the points with Kentucky, but no, I took the points with Auburn instead. Blown out. Took Michigan, and I was on Michigan anyway. Whatever. Let's not talk about me. Get me angry. Billy will wonder why I'm so angry every Sunday morning. I've had 3 cups today, Bill. On my way. Next up, Michigan State Northwestern. We already talked about this game. Huge loss for Northwestern. They were rolling. They were in great position to play in the Big Ten championship game. They still probably are, with only 1 loss on their side. It depends on what happens, obviously, next couple weeks. But, they've blown any chance they had for the playoff. Again, with a short season for the Big Ten, these teams had to go convincingly undefeated and win the Big Ten championship, in my mind, to have a chance to get in, which makes it problematic for Ohio State, again, who was postponed yesterday and may not get to the playoff, not to the playoff, maybe not to the NCAA playoff. They may not get to the Big Ten championship game because of a rule the Big Ten put in, which, again, they'll probably change because it's Ohio State. Billy says it's all about me, buddy. You know what? Let me just touch on that for a second. Since I like to have a flowing stream of consciousness show on Sundays, and I hope you guys enjoy that in my getting off topic and trying to get back on. I think I do it okay. seamlessly. The seasoned professional I am now, after 4 months on this job. I'm not quitting my day job, by the way, or my real job. It is all about me. And if more people understood that, we'd all get along better, right? It's funny. I'm not an easy person to spend. If you watch my Thanksgiving vlog I put up Wednesday, I had to thank my wife several times because we spent the last 8 months together 24/7. Billy, you're retired, so you may, I think your wife might be working, but I'm not sure. You can let me know. But I'm not the easiest person in the world to spend 24 hours a day with. I'm not the easiest person to spend 1 hour a day with, probably. But that's just that. I thanked her profusely because we've had an amazing 8 months. I've enjoyed being home working with her. She's had to go back to the office, actually, a couple days of pay period. But she's not happy about that, but it is what it is. A lot of people are back out there, too. It's funny because I'll tell one more quick story. Very early in the pandemic and the shutdown, I saw a hilarious meme that really fit me to a T. And it was after spending 6 weeks, 2 months, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with myself, I felt the need to apologize for anybody who has ever had to spend any time with me. So I apologize to everybody who has. I'll do that again. I did it back in early on in this. Oh, God, I digress. Where was I? Georgia rolls over South Carolina. Georgia's 9th in the playoff poll. I just have this sneaky feeling if certain things happen, Cincinnati loses, A&M loses, several things got to happen, but I don't want to see a two-loss. I don't want to see a two-loss SEC team in there, and Cincinnati or BYU or Indiana. I don't know. Indiana probably not a good example. Be left out. And I got this bad feeling. It happens every year that one of these teams in the SEC gets in that, and somebody else gets left out. But we'll see. Indiana, speaking of Indiana, rolled again yesterday over Maryland, who was really playing some pretty good football, but hadn't played any football in a while. Somehow Billy has gone to longest field goal in college history is 69 yards, 1976. Can't anyone kick 70? I don't know how you got there, Bill. Maybe it's from the opening of the show about Sarah Fuller. I'm going to guess the record holder is Russell Erxleben. Tell me if I'm right. And probably not. At that time, they were using tees when they kicked field goals, so these guys were kicking a rate. Nobody in the NFL was kicking these. I mean, for years, Tom Dempsey's 63-yarder was a record until years ago, and I think the record in the NFL might still be held by one of the Denver kickers, so the altitude comes into play. But back in the 70s, guys were kicking field goals in the high 60s all the time. Let me know if it's Russell Erxleben. There's two guys in Texas that were kind of competing for the long. I'm wrong. Give me the name. I'll bet you I know it. Anyway, Erxleben was number 1 pick for the Saints. Let me finish up the top 25 here. Coastal Carolina, 9-0. Sun Belt, not a great league, but 9-0 is 9-0. 49-14. Oklahoma State and Texas Tech, 50-44. So the game's canceled in the top 20. Ohio State, we already talked about the implications of that. Ohio State, Illinois, canceled. Cincinnati Temple, again, this could affect Cincinnati. They need all the games and all the Ove Johnson. Don't know that name. Give me the school. Got you working today, Bill. You be my statistician today. I need a producer on the show. I may have to bring you over on Sunday mornings. So Cincinnati, again, I think the eye test, they need to win as many games as convincingly as they can, and obviously win their championship game. Because that's a good league. I can't talk about the AAC. I love that league. Very competitive and good football teams. A bunch of good football teams. Postpone Oklahoma, West Virginia. Again, Minnesota, Wisconsin canceled. Postpone Tulsa and Houston. Tulsa's in the top 25. That's why I mentioned that one. 11 games total. I thought I had 4 games in the top 25, but there's actually 5. I must have missed that Tulsa game. It's December. Next week is December 6th, I think. No, sorry, December 4th. The championship games start on the 12th. Most of them are the 19th. There's still a lot of postponed games to be made up. I'm not sure how many of these are going to get made up. So, how does this affect the playoff rankings? So going into, this will come out again, I think, Tuesday night. So I don't see a lot of change. Obviously, I don't see any change, I don't think, in the top 4 unless Florida or Texas A&M finds a way to jump up over Ohio State because Ohio State didn't play. Again, only 4 games they played. Texas A&M will be 6-1. Florida will be 7-1. Ohio State is 4-0 and very convincingly and definitely one of the top 4 teams in the country, but they haven't played. They got Michigan next week, by the way, so they're going to win convincingly in that rivalry game that should have been this week. Northwestern will fall out of the top 10, obviously, probably out of the top 15, I would think, after yesterday's performance. Interestingly enough, Miami, the ACC, we'll talk a little bit about these championship games. So the ACC championship game is scheduled for the 12th, I believe. Probably Clemson and Notre Dame in a rematch, most likely, but Miami can still sneak in there. If Notre Dame falls, which they won't next week, I think they've got, I think they have Syracuse. They're not going to lose next week. Notre Dame's got Virginia Tech. Clemson's got Virginia Tech. They're not very good. Doubtful they're going to lose. But if one of those teams got upset, Miami could still sneak in there because they only got 1 loss. But they can't beat Clemson. They lost to Clemson. They're not playing Notre Dame. Very unlikely they can sneak in there. But they are 10th in the playoff rankings and could sneak into the ACC championship game, which is their only route to the playoff. So it's highly unlikely. The Big Ten plays on December 19th. Right now, it's looking most likely like Northwestern and Ohio State, if Ohio State is allowed to play in that game, as I said. The SEC, I believe, is on the 19th as well. Probably Bama, Florida is lined up for that. Pac-12, again, there could be some changes because some of the postponed games could have some surprises, I suppose. Pac-12, which is probably out of it now. USC is their highest ranked team. They were 18th in the latest the first playoff poll. They're only 3-0. They've only played 3 games. Oregon was the only team with a chance in my mind, and they had to win all their games convincingly, and now they've lost. Probably going to be Washington and USC probably in that Pac-12 championship game. The Big 12 is December 12th. It's looking like Iowa State and Oklahoma, which will be an exciting game. And Oklahoma is lurking around, but they got 2 losses. They're ranked 11th. Too much has to happen. East Texas State is who? Ove Johansson from Norway. Former rugby player. Oh, Bill, hang on. I'll read that in a second. You're copy and pasting now, by the way. That's cheating. No way you typed all that out. Who else did I miss? Big 12. My favorite league, the ACC. The AAC, excuse me, the American Athletic Conference, is looking right now like Cincinnati against Tulsa. Both in the top 25. Again, Cincinnati needs to win out convincingly. I think Cincinnati deserves a shot. So we're talking about the playoff. Let's see what Billy's got to say here. I hate to read, but here you go. The 4 teams selected to the 2021 college football playoff will be Sunday, December 20th, which I had already talked about. Originally scheduled for December 6th. This final rankings release was pushed back 2 weeks. Yeah, we got that covered. Good information, though. I know you cut and pasted it, Bill. You're an old man. You can't type that succinctly. Sorry. Not that much older than me. Anyway, guys, things are still, there's some things still up in the air. I mean, there's still some big games next week. Again, if you think the Pac-12 is still alive, you got USC and Washington. You got Alabama. You got Texas A&M and Auburn, which is going to be a big game. Auburn again blown out by A&M or Alabama yesterday, but Texas A&M still in play. They're 5th, but they got to be more impressive than they were yesterday. Siri, good call, Bill. Florida and Tennessee again. Those teams have to keep winning, and they got to win impressively. I think Ohio State, Michigan. It will be a blowout for Ohio State, but they got to play. They got to play the game. I still think they have to. Their games, postponed games, have all been canceled. So I'm not sure, and I'd have to look. But I think if Ohio State has one more game postponed, they are not or canceled. They're not going to be in the Big Ten championship game. If they are, they're going to make the playoff. Being LSU is going to get killed. They're terrible. Texas A&M should have beat that team by 45 yesterday. The defense played awesome, but not the offense. Horrendous. And you got Syracuse, Notre Dame. Set your own line for that one, guys. Miami, Wake Forest. Big game, as I said, and the fact that Miami is still on the peripheral of maybe getting in that ACC championship game. They need a lot of help. Because, again, even a Clemson loss doesn't get them in because they lost to Clemson. And they don't play Notre Dame. So I'm not really sure if Notre Dame were to lose to Syracuse. That's pretty funny to say. What happened to LSU? Beat 20-7. Should have get beat by 45. They're terrible. Very interesting how there's not a lot of talk about the scandal at LSU right now. If you're talking about what happened to them in general this year, Billy, they graduated and had 7 guys go in the first round of the NFL draft. They had 2 of their best players opt out of the season, and so they're playing a true freshman quarterback much of the time, and it looked like it yesterday. And they got a scandal surrounding the school over where they've handled some sexual misconduct situations. So I know they won the championship last year, Bill, but it's not like the NFL. These kids don't stay there forever. As I said, 7 first rounders, I think it was a record. They lost a lot of good players. When you talk, they lost half their starting, at least half of their starters. When you factor in the people who did matriculate, well, I shouldn't say they matriculated and graduated, but left school for the NFL, and the kids that opted out, they lost at least half their starters. Hard to come back from. They knew it was a rebuilding year, but they've been playing. They played some bad games, and they were bad last night. So we'll see. I don't know. It's amazing to me how little talk there is about this investigation going on at LSU. They're doing their own internal investigation right now. They hired a law firm to look into their own Title IX practices, specifically as it relates to the reporting of these types of incidents. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully there's nothing to it. We have too many of these scandals. But we also know historically these types of scandals don't end well. They don't end well. Look what happened to our Browns at Baylor. These are great teams. He had some bad kids. Real quick, I guess we'll talk. If you guys have any other questions about the or comments about the NCAA, post them up. We'll move on here real quick. I want to go through the Heisman rankings, my Heisman rankings. I guess probably not a lot different than what most people have. Some people could have it differently. That will be awarded, I think, January 5th. Billy can probably find something to cut and paste me. They did move that back. That's usually also announced, I want to say this first weekend in December is usually the Heisman ceremony. There won't be a ceremony. It'll be virtual this year, and it'll be January 5th. But normally it's that first Saturday in December, and there's not a lot of football then. It's usually Army-Navy. Army-Navy's got the stage to themselves, which they won't this year. And that's unfortunate because it's a great game. I cannot miss that. I don't care how bad either team is. If they're both bad, I don't care. Army-Navy game is a must-watch for me. Must-watch. And this year they're playing at West Point, and I've said this every week, it's such a shame that game got moved to West Point, and there can't be any fans because it is a wonderful experience. Again, if you haven't been there, go there for a game when you can. It's a great experience. And get there early so you see the cadets march in. So the Heisman, Kyle Trask did nothing to hurt his candidacy. I think he's still in the driver's seat. How Billy confers by Heisman Trophy ceremony, virtual ceremony. I don't believe there'll be anybody in attendance. It's scheduled for Tuesday, January 5th at 7 p.m. Tuesday's a big night for Heisman presentations. I don't know, Tuesday night? Anyway. Kyle Trask still front runner in my mind. I mean, I guess all you need to do to kind of see the strength of his candidacy is to look at his numbers yesterday. He threw 3 touchdowns and 6 incompletions, and, we're looking at it as a disappointing day. Great day. That's why he's first. Mac Jones, I would say, is still probably is second and moved ahead of Trevor Lawrence, who I dropped to third because of the games he's missed. No fault of his own, unless you want to blame him for getting COVID, I guess. But, he's fallen to third in my mind. Mac Jones, interestingly enough, his stat really doesn't have a lot to do with his Heisman candidacy, but he's thrown for 9 touchdowns in 2 Iron Bowls against Auburn. And Tua and Jalen Hurts threw for that same number combined in their careers. So Mac Jones, great player, really, really, really has stepped up this year. So is Kyle Trask, for that matter. Trevor Lawrence, great day yesterday, as I said. 400 yards rush passing and a couple touchdowns, but he's hurt by the fact that he missed over a month. So it's going to be a little tough. Billy is in cutting and pasting heaven today. He's got Wikipedia out, and he's having a blast. John William Heisman was a player and coach of American football, baseball, and basketball. He was also a sports writer and an actor. All right, Billy, I'm having second thoughts about making you the producer of the show. Zach Wilson, again, not enough exposure for Zach Wilson from BYU. His team's undefeated. In another season where they were playing in a conference and he was getting more eyeballs on him, and maybe the team had a real chance of getting into the playoff. And, just to back up to the playoff again, I'll tell you what. Again, I've talked all year about the challenges that BYU faced playing independent schedule this year and not really playing a lot of great teams, but they are 9-0, and they're 14th in this first set of rankings. And you got Georgia ahead of them with 2 losses, Oklahoma ahead of them with 2 losses, Iowa State ahead of them with 2 losses. Maybe they're better teams, but again, I'd like to see BYU or Cincinnati find a way into this playoff. So Zach Wilson doesn't really have a chance. He'll probably be a finalist. And I've got after yesterday's performance, and he's been great all year. And he's proximity-wise, he's kind of local, Buffalo, if you count 5 hours away, local. Jarrett Patterson propels himself into the 5th place in my mind with his almost record-breaking performance yesterday. And his coach, again, if you missed it earlier, apologized to him for taking him out of the game, and his backup scoring on a 23-yard touchdown, which would have given him the all-time rushing record and broken the tie for touchdowns scored in the game at 8. It would have been 9, and he would have had that record alone. So we'll move on to the NFL. Oh, before I go on to the NFL, I'll throw this in the middle here so the groups I post to don't. I'll just use it as a fence post from college to the pros. I hope to God none of you paid any money to watch Mike Tyson and Roy Jones fight yesterday. It came to a predictable draw. I didn't watch it. I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch it. I don't understand. I mean, it's an exhibition. I get it. But why are people paying money to watch these 50-some-year-old guys maybe punch themselves out? I doubt there was a lot of real punches thrown. If anybody watched it and can correct me, please do. Make a comment now or later when you watch this, but I just don't get it. You know, I saw a picture from the way in, and I thought, I mean, Roy Jones looked a little like me standing there. Well, other than I'm the whitest man in America, but other than that, he looked like me standing there. Billy predicts Clemson to win the championship. I don't doubt it, Billy. They got a tremendous team, but Alabama's going to be tough to beat. And I don't know. I think this is a different Notre Dame team. We'll talk about this for a minute before we move on. I'm sorry. I'm backing up again. I was going to wait till the playoff was more solidified, I guess, here a week or two from now. I think Notre Dame is different than the Notre Dame teams that have gotten to this point in the past and disappointed, get blown out in the playoff. I don't think they are. We'll see a true test of it when they get to the ACC championship game, likely a rematch with Clemson and Trevor Lawrence under quarterback or under center, playing quarterback. But Trevor Lawrence could be the big difference maker. But I think Notre Dame is better than they've been when they've been in this position before. They've got through the rigors of a league schedule for the first time, playing in the ACC full time this year. And I am a big Ian Book fan. I have watched this team. I watched them a lot. I mean, I'm not necessarily a Notre Dame fan, so don't think I'm a Kool-Aid drinker. And I like Notre Dame. I don't necessarily root for them. I enjoy watching them play. But I've watched Ian Book really grow as a quarterback the last year and a half. And they got a great running game. They play good defense. And they got a smart quarterback who makes plays when he needs them. If you watch that Clemson Notre Dame game, he played great. No big mistakes. And again, he's a thrower and a runner. And I really think he's kind of helping his NFL stock this year. So we will move on. I think it's going to be great. I still think we're looking at the 4 teams that are there. Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Ohio State will be there 3 weeks from now. Whenever we have the quite a little more than 3 weeks from now, when we have the final rankings. Anyway. Anybody wants to call and give me a hard time, don't forget. I keep forgetting to put up the number. Let me put it up for a while. Anybody wants to call and give me a hard time, now that we're moving into the NFL, they can feel free to do it. Well, we're going to talk, I don't know, we're probably going to talk less about the NFL this week than we did the college because there's so much to cover. But there's still stuff in the NFL. Stuff from week 11. There were some big games last week. Seattle beat the Cardinals, take control of that division. pull up my little standing sheet here. So, well, actually, they didn't take control of the division. They moved into a tie with the Rams, which we'll talk about in a second. But they beat the Cards. Cardinals got a good team. They're kind of up and down, still 6-4. They'll make the playoffs, but they're still feeling some growing pains. Kyle Murray's still feeling some growing pains, and he got hurt as well last week too. So banged up a little bit. We'll see if that affects him against the Patriots today. Patriots underdogs at home. Doesn't happen a lot, boys. Folks, use my Joe Biden drink. Joe said, folks. Yikes. Pull my comments back, see who's talking to me. Billy might have cut and pasted something. So, Billy, I got to back up again. The delay kills me. Oh, this is Rick. Rick watched the fight on Facebook. Oh, it was available free? Or did you have to pay? And Tyson clearly won. That's not my point, though. It's an exhibition, 2 50-year-old guys. What's the point? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't want to see a bunch of 60-year-old, 50-year-old baseball players go out there and play. I mean, Old Timers Day is nice, but they aren't playing real baseball. Anyway, no more cut and paste for Billy. Stop shouting at me, Billy. Stop shouting. Where was I? Moving on, unless Rick's got more to talk about. I'll jump back to Tyson and Roy Jones later if you have more comments, Rick. Or call me and discuss it if you like. I don't get it. Maybe somebody can educate me. The Steelers win. Steelers go to 10-0. There's only been a handful of teams in history that have gotten to 10-0. Steelers are there. They could go undefeated, guys. I mean, they got some tough games ahead of them yet, but they could run the table, and maybe that's not a good thing. We saw what happened to the Patriots in 2007. The pressure gets higher and higher. Rick says a friend streamed it live. Oh, cool. Oh, so he had a watch party, I guess? Interesting. There's so many ways to circumvent the man today, right? So we don't have to pay for things that we probably shouldn't ever pay for anyway. They're trying to revive boxing, Billy says. Well, I'm not going to revive it with Roy Jones and Tyson fighting each other at 55 years old. Should have fought that fight 30 years ago. That would have revived boxing. All right, I'm on. Tennessee beats the Ravens. That was a big game. Ravens are slumping. I was on a show. I guessed on Mac and Jack on Max Sports. Look for that on Facebook. I guessed on Fridays. I do share it to my page, so you can get on. Fast forward to me if you want. They have a good show. They have a really good show, and you guys probably would enjoy it. I don't have the time to do what they do, man. Mac works a full-time job, and he does 2 hours Wednesday through Sunday. So God bless them. And I think they do a great job. I enjoy being on the show with them. I was on Thanksgiving Day with Byron Williams, who was an NFL wide receiver, and he talks to them about the Giants. But they have a really good show. So we've gotten into this debate, and Jack there thinks the Ravens will miss the playoffs, that they will finish 8-8. Which they right now are 6-4. So he's got them going 2-4 the rest of the way out. So we'll see. It's like the senior PGA. I got to disagree, Bill. A 55-year-old man can beat a 30-year-old man at golf. And I'm a golfer. I'm not degrading golfers, but it's apples and oranges, golf and boxing, or golf and football, or golf and almost everything. Old guys. Jack Nicklaus. Let's look at Tom Watson a few years back almost won the British Open at 62 years old. So I think it's apples and oranges. What other games were big last week? Texans beat my Patriots. You can see I've changed my top again. I'm exhausting, trying to get something new. I'm on my free Sports Illustrated windbreaker, doing anything I can to try to get my team on a roll. Last week, Cam played better, but the defense wasn't good. Watson torched them most of the day. And the team that was least penalized in the NFL, the Patriots, committed some, I don't even know, 10 or 12 penalties. It was just awful. Awful. Cam's numbers were good, but Cam still can't come up big. Can't come up big. Throws balls short. Every time there's a big play, I see a ball going at a guy's feet. I'm probably being too harsh because of who I'm judging him against, but I got more on that coming up too a little bit, some Tom Brady news. The Jets continue their pace for Trevor Lawrence, and I started to touch on it, Billy. I know you think Trevor Lawrence is staying in school, but go back and, since you're doing a lot of Googling and cutting and pasting today, go back and Google and look for Trevor Lawrence's comments after his final home game last night. He's not coming back. He said thank you, and it was basically goodbye. Too much money on the table, too much money at risk. I mean, you can take out insurance policies and such, but too much money at risk. There's no reason for him to stay. There's no reason for him to stay. He's won championships. He's ready to play in the NFL today. There's zero reason for him to stay in college other than avoiding the Jets. And even in that case, you can find a way to force yourself to another team. Look up Eli Manning. Happens all the time. Well, maybe not all the time. Who else I want to talk about from last week? KC gets revenge on the Raiders. Kansas City still, Pittsburgh's undefeated. And I think we're heading to the inevitable Pittsburgh-Kansas City matchup in the AFC Championship game. And it's going to be a good one. But Kansas City, I think, is still a much better football team than Pittsburgh. And I don't mean any disrespect to the Steelers. Not a big Steeler fan. But I will tell you, Mike Tomlin's a great coach. But I think Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes is just a difference. And Patrick Mahomes is just a difference in when we get to that point. Boredom is the biggest thing Kansas City's got to fight. They do want to still chase the Steelers and get home field advantage through the playoffs. And, I think there probably still is something to home field, even with no players there. But that's the only thing they've got to play for. I mean, they've got a 3-game lead in the division, really a 4-game lead in the division because they beat I guess it would depend. Oh, yeah, their division record, conference record. I guess it would come down to that because they split the series. The division's tied, but they got a 2.5-game, 3.5-game lead on them in the conference. So, all the tiebreakers seem to fit Kansas City, even if somehow the Raiders were to overcome a 3-game deficit, which is not going to happen. The Chiefs aren't losing 3 games. Yeah, we'll talk about the Washington in a second for sure, Bill. The Rams sink Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. This is going to bring me into some of my news for the week. There's probably bigger news than this, but the struggles of the Buccaneers, and struggles is kind of a relative term, right? They're 7-3. I'm sorry, 7-4. They're game and a half behind the Saints, but they're probably more. They're more than that because they lost twice, so they're 2.5 games behind. They play great one week, they don't play another. Tom, I don't want to degrade. I really don't want to degrade Tom Brady, but Tom Brady should have retired. I'm sorry. His numbers aren't that bad. You look at them. But when you watch him play, you're right, Billy. He can't throw past 20 yards. He can't throw the ball down the field. He's had trouble with that the last few years. He's playing with an entirely new cast of characters. Gronk there or not. Gronk's not a big part of that offense. Antonio Brown was stupid. I mean, they basically made him, Brady the de facto general manager. And now you watch and listen, there's growing tension between Brady and Bruce Arians. One more year, if he wants to play another year, this is going to become a factor. And I don't know if it leads to Bruce Arians walking away or Tom Brady walking away, or maybe they can work it out. Maybe this is a ploy by Bruce Arians to piss Tom Brady off, because Tom Brady plays his best football with a chip on his shoulder. We all know that. If you don't know that, you haven't watched him play when he's mad. Look at when he got suspended for 4 games. Look at the Spygate. Look at a bunch of different things where people have put him. Look at just the whole career. His whole career is based on feeling dismissed and not given his due. Happened at Michigan. Happened when he was a 6th-round draft pick, and he's fueled a great career. The greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. But there's problems right now, real problems. Arians said the other day, basically, we've given him everything he wanted, including Antonio Brown. Where's the results? Yeah, they're 7-4. Tom Brady's numbers are okay, but they are not in sync too often. And part of that's because they couldn't practice in the offseason. I get all the excuses. I can use them all for the Patriots, even though we don't have the same weapons. OTAs are very important to the Patriots. It's maybe more important than a lot of teams, because that's where they find these role guys, these role players. But it's not an excuse. And the screaming and the pointing of fingers that Tom does, which he got away with in New England because he was the man. He was an icon. He'd been there 20 years. You can't walk into a new situation and act the same way. Just can't do it. You can't do it. Again, I know he's trying. I believe he's trying to provide the same leadership that he provided in New England. But you got a bunch of guys who don't know you. They known you since yesterday. Can't do the same things you did with guys that you played with for years, with a franchise that you were the face of for 20 years, and you could get away with that with anybody. You can meet him tomorrow, right? Brand new guy on the team. You can get in his face end because you're Tom Brady of the New England Patriots. And he's still Tom Brady, but he has no, I don't know. You know, I've always brushed off the whole thing about him not shaking hands with guys when he's pissed off at the end of games. He's done it 2 or 3 times this year again. And then, you know, he's more than happy to do it when he wins. I brush that off as just his competitiveness. And again, you can get away with that when you're in the same situation you've been in for years and years and years. You're going into a new situation, you got to act a little differently, I think. And Tommy's trying to do things the way he did them for 20 years, and it's not working right now. That team is on the verge of coming apart. It's very, very interesting to see what happens the next 5 weeks and into the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. If they implode in the first round, who knows what happens? Brady could walk away. Arians could walk away. I mean, they've done everything you want. They've given him everything he asked for. And, right now they're a middling team. We'll see. Saints are red hot, even without Drew Brees. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to talk about Washington when I get to the rundown of the team spell, just so I can stay on track here. The other big news in the NFL, time we got, 10 o'clock. Staying home today, I think, guys. Game's not on TV. My game's not on TV. I'm going to find it on Sirius Radio. Just not worth getting out this weekend. Too many people, from out of town around, just not feeling good about being out and about safely today. So going to forego seeing the Patriots for the first time in a long time. Because the big news is COVID-19. Excuse me. It's big news for us. Big news in the NFL. Pittsburgh and the Ravens were supposed to play Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. Game got moved to Monday. Then the game got moved to Wednesday. 18 players on the Ravens, including Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram, are going to be out. The Steelers have 4 guys, and quite frankly, I don't know who those 4 guys are. So, I mean, there's still some debate, I guess, whether this game will get played Tuesday or not. The Pittsburgh Steelers players are upset. They've lost their bye week twice now. They were supposed to have a bye week, and the schedule got rearranged. They're playing out a bye week. They're supposed to have a bye week coming up this week, and they got to play football on Tuesday. So they should have been off for 10 days. So, I mean, again, it is what it is. Every team's had their problems, so I don't necessarily care that much about the Steelers griping about the game situation. Everybody's had to deal with these types of things through this year. They're not the only ones. But on the same token, the Broncos today are playing with no quarterback. Every one of their quarterbacks, Drew Lock, Brett Ripien, Blake Bortles, all came into contact with their other quarterback, Jeff Driscoll, who's COVID-19 positive with no masks, no social distancing, and lied about it. Or at least one of them did. And now, well, and according to NFL protocol, they cannot suit up and play today. So the Broncos are going to play the game today. Where are they playing, by the way? Sorry, I don't have that up. The Broncos are playing, New Orleans. Should be easy to beat them without a quarterback, right? How hard can that be? I mean, come on, guys. You got to be smarter than that. So they can't play. I can't remember ever in my history of watching football. I mean, maybe guys got hurt. I know the Colts back in the 60s actually played Tom Matty, who was a running back at quarterback for a while, and he played pretty well. Billy's got a good point. He doesn't think they had a quarterback before. You're probably right. They don't. Some of them there's a lot of people who like Drew Lock, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right now, they've activated Kendall Hilton, who was a quarterback at Wake Forest, but he's a wide receiver for them, and also a Freeman, a running back, will play some quarterback. So they're going to play the Wildcat. They're going to do some. You're going to see some things you haven't seen. I don't think I've ever seen. Ever. Yes, no quarterback for the Jets, no quarterback for the Broncos, but there's still guys who are trained as quarterbacks. So it's going to be interesting. This would be like the Patriots playing a whole game with Julian Edelman at quarterback, basically, which, again, may not be such a bad idea. More COVID-19 news. 49ers. The county of Santa Clara in California, I mentioned this in my college conversation, has declared, new health restrictions, and none of these teams can practice or play at their facilities in the county. Billy and Drew, you guys can duke that one out. I think it is a coaching situation with the Jets more than a quarterback. I like Sam Darnold. If they want to trade him in the division, which will never happen, you can trade him to us. 49ers, at least 3 weeks. They cannot practice or play at home. So they're looking for a new home. They're looking at playing at Arizona State. They're looking for some places to call home for the next 3 weeks or a month. Their season has been, a series of injuries, and I think they had a COVID situation of their own. I'm sure everybody has. Every team has at this point. But nobody's been displaced from their home. And one more thing for the 49ers to overcome. And they've probably, they're probably out of the playoff hunt now. I mean, I don't think they're going to kind of make a run at it here, but we'll talk about that in a second. Some other news. Matt Patricia. one of my favorites, ex-defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, world champion New England Patriots, in over his head in Detroit. Whether he's in over his head as a head coach or, again, it's just a dysfunctional organization is debatable. But Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, the GM, fired after just an atrocious showing on Thanksgiving Day against Texans. What can you say? Matt Patricia went 13-29-1. You can't. It's impossible. You cannot win, or you can't keep stay as a head coach if you can't do that. Especially when you got some talent. They got great wide receivers. They got a really good quarterback, and they cannot get it together. Bob Quinn's been there a little bit longer. His record's a little bit better. They should never have fired Caldwell when they brought Matt Patricia in my mind. And yeah, so yet another disciple bites the dust. We got Romeo still. I'll tell you what, the best disciple maybe ever is going to be Brian Flores, and you guys are going to see it if you're a Miami fan. You'll understand what I'm talking about. So Daryl Bevel, the offensive coordinator, will be the interim at Detroit. We'll get into some discussions. Well, maybe I'll touch on it here in a second. One more thing to cover. Jalen Hurts taking a lot of snaps this week with the first team offense for the Eagles. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be even a Lamar Jackson type player. I could be wrong. He's a great athlete. But the Eagles, Carson Wentz, I don't think is the problem. Again, I think that's a coaching problem in Philadelphia. And Carson Wentz, again, if these teams want to give up on quarterbacks like Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz, I know a certain Super Bowl winning coach who'd probably be really happy to take on one of these reclamation projects and take them off their hands, for a third round pick or something. So Hurts is practicing with the first team, going to get some reps. Wentz is supposed to start against Seattle, but Hurts is definitely going to play some. And we talked about the Brady Arians thing. I mean, that's going to blow up. I just got a feeling it's going to blow up. Or Bruce Arians is the smartest guy in the NFL, and he's just trying to piss Tom Brady off to get him fire lit under him. Because again, that's how Tom plays the best. Some of the coaching changes, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with some of these coaching changes. I talked in the college session, I talked last week about Harbaugh. I think will exit stage right in Michigan. He won't be fired. I don't see him being fired. President loves him, but you got to win. And I don't think he thinks he's going to ever get it done there. So I don't think anybody thinks he's ever going to get it done there. And he wants to get back in the NFL, and he will be, regardless of this situation in Michigan. He'll be very highly sought after. He had a very successful run in San Francisco. Said it here last week, and maybe my opinion will change in the coming months as more jobs open up and Harbaugh has more opportunities. But I would not be shocked to see Jim Harbaugh coaching Trevor Lawrence next year. You can read what you want into that. But it'll be interesting. You got Detroit opening up. Maybe he wants to coach in Houston, coach a great quarterback in Deshaun Watson. Although the Texans are leaning towards keeping Romeo Crennel next year, still on an interim basis, just because of the whole COVID situation and not being able to interview people and get face-to-face with people. I don't think that's the way to go because there's some really good candidates that are going to get sucked up this year. Eric Bieniemy is going to get a job. Should have had a job probably by now. Jim Harbaugh is going to get a job, I think, in the NFL. There's some good coaches that are going to be available that are going to take other jobs. You got a job open in Atlanta, Detroit, Houston, the Jets. That's just so far. Yeah, that's my prediction, Bill. Harbaugh and Lawrence. And you would be on your way to probably an improved team. Just my 2 cents. All right, let's look around the league a little bit before we go to the picks. 10:15 in the morning. Welcome everybody. Thank you all for tuning in, contributing to the conversation. So you just dumped Darnold? Well, yeah. If you draft Trevor Lawrence, Darnold's gone, buddy. What do you think? He's not going to be the backup. They'll be trading him for draft picks. So, anyway, Trevor Lawrence is ready to play today in the NFL. That's why he's coming out. I mean, you guys all watched Keith Twopenny. Not sure I get that one, Bill. You guys all watched these guys that have played well this year. Justin Herbert, Tua's played well. You know, he got pulled last week. Who else? Patrick Mahomes sat a year. I haven't seen a guy as ready to come in and play in the NFL in a while as Trevor Lawrence. He's ready to play. He'll play his day one. Joe Burrow. Think about Joe Burrow, but better. Shame what happened to him. Let's go through the divisions here. Bill, you can explain that. You just gave me your 2 cents. Right. That's just me. My opinion could change in the next few weeks to a month when the season's over and changes start getting made, but we'll see. That's just what I see right now. The AFC. Not much has changed. The Bills still got a game lead on the Dolphins. The Dolphins with a tough loss last week. They pulled Tua for Fitzpatrick. I'm not a big fan of that. We had a little debate about this on the Mac and Jack show on Thanksgiving morning. Jack thinks you can have the relief quarterback, a guy who comes in and saves a day. I don't believe in that. It's never worked in the NFL. Maybe once or twice. Don Strock with the Dolphins, but they didn't have a real number one quarterback. David Woodley was their quarterback. And he'd come in and not to mop up games, but to come back and win games. You can't run an NFL franchise that way today. There's an old adage, and I didn't make this up. For sure. It's been around forever. If you have two quarterbacks, you actually have no quarterbacks. Because you're going to have divisions in the locker room after a while. It's going to cause problems. It's going to hurt the development of Tua. And Brian Flores, I think, is a great coach. That's what I was going to get to before when Drew was talking about another disciple bites the dust. I think Brian Flores is in a position to really break the glass ceiling on Belichick disciples and finally be a successful one. But this move leaves me scratching my head a little bit. You want to win games. You want to win games now, but you don't want to forfeit the chance to win many, many, many games and division championships later for a win this year, where they're ahead of schedule. They weren't expecting to compete this year. Guarantee you that. Elsewhere in the division, the Patriots are 4-6, and you know what? They're probably. I've been saying this for a while. They get me excited with a win over the Ravens, and then we throw a stinker up last week against the Texans, where we let Deshaun Watson just throw the ball all over the field. The secondary is not playing well. We were very disciplined in you need a second-string quarterback. Yeah, Drew Brees was a backup in New England for exactly 6 games, Bill. 6 games. You need a backup. I didn't say you don't need a backup quarterback, but you're not going to have somebody making a lot of money in that position. Drew Bledsoe got traded right after that season. Drew Bledsoe was an MVP of that first Super Bowl season for the Patriots, in my mind, because he got hurt. Tom Brady got in. Tom Brady kept the job, which doesn't always happen when a starter comes back with from injury. And Drew Brees didn't make a stink, even though he was mad, very mad about not getting his job back. but he kept himself ready to play. They needed him in the second half of the AFC Championship game against Pittsburgh, and he helped them win the game. It's important to have a backup quarterback for injuries. So maybe you're talking about, Darnold backing up Lawrence, but they're not keeping both those guys there. Flacco, maybe, not Darnold. He's still a worthy chip to trade and get better, get more draft picks, get a lineman, get something. He will bring back a return. And somebody wants him, I guarantee you. Either if it's not the Patriots and it's Frank Reich in Indianapolis, he loved him. He had not Frank Reich. Sorry, there's another guy. White's is the guy that Frank Reich would like to have on his team. There's somebody else I'm thinking of. It's escaping my mind now. But there will be teams that want Sam Darnold as a reclamation project. And again, I can think of one if I travel just a bit southeast. Or is it south? Is it northeast? I don't know. I'm not good with my directions. The Jets we already know about. Steelers 10-0, as I talked about. Guys, you can look it up. There haven't been that many teams that have started the season 10-0. They still got some tough games ahead of them, but they got a 3-game lead in the division. Again, the danger of going undefeated here. You got a 3-game lead in the division. What are you going to do when you get later on in the season? It happened to the Colts a few years back, quite a few years back now. I don't think teams care about going undefeated. I think they care about winning championships. Patriots. Billy, the one-word answers, I have trouble figuring out what we're talking about here. Anyway. The AFC North, Steelers are obviously a lock, and I still think the Steelers and Kansas City are headed for the AFC Championship game. Not a big surprise there. I don't think I'm going on any limbs. The Browns are probably going to be a first-round exit in the playoffs, depending on their matchup. The Ravens struggling. Lamar Jackson, teams are figuring out a little bit. Good defenses he has trouble against, and now he's out with COVID for at least a week. The Colts in the AFC South, the Colts continue to surprise me. Really good defense. Phillip Rivers has played better than I thought he would play. But again, how much the Colts are going to want to invest in him in the future is debatable as well. He's only playing on a 1-year contract. And again, we talked about Carson Wentz and the Eagles blaming their travails all on Carson Wentz. If they want to get rid of him, they're going to be suitors for Carson Wentz, just like there will be for Sam Darnold. One of them will be off of Route 1 in Foxborough. Frank Reich in Indianapolis, I guarantee you, will be another suitor for Whites, and there'll be others. Whites. Carson Wentz. What did I say? Whites? Carson Wentz. The Titans, I don't know. Every time I think, they had a horrible loss against the Colts, and then they come back with a big win against the Ravens. They're a hard team to figure out. Well coached. I love Mike Vrabel. I think Drew told me a few weeks ago I don't know if it might have been on another show I was on. I don't know. I was told I can't count him as part of Belichick's coaching tree because he wasn't a coach, but he was kind of a coach on the field. So, I might be able to make that leap. And the Texans, everybody's excited. They won, 3 in a row or 3 out of 4, whatever it might be here. I'm trying to see. I guess they won 2 of the last 3. Romeo's done a good job riding the ship a little bit, getting things a little calmer than when Bill O'Brien was there. But, Romeo's 70-some years old, and he's not the long-term answer there, and they'd have to win out to have any chance. They beat a bad Lions team. They beat not a good Patriot team. So I'm not really excited about the Texans other than Deshaun Watson, and his receivers are great. I can tell you that. The Chiefs, obviously, have got a 3-game lead in their division. They're looking good. The Raiders will make the playoffs, probably go out in the first round. Broncos have no quarterback, as we talked about today. So they're probably going to get killed. I'm trying to decide what to do with the that game. I think we'll give everybody a win, and we'll just call that one no line, and you can pick a winner, and we'll all take the Saints. Maybe somebody will take the Broncos, but we'll call no line on that because there's not going to be a line in that game today, guaranteed. Chargers are out of it. Over to the NFC East. They're still horrible. Redskins are leading division at 4-7. Billy thinks they've improved a lot. I agree. Ron Rivera's done a great job there. Alex Smith has played well, but Alex Smith is 37 years old. He's not the long-term answer there. This division is still anybody's to grab. The Cowboys have the best talent in the division, and there's just so much wrong there. I don't understand it, and it starts at the top. Talked about this on the Thanksgiving show with Mac and Jack and Byron Williams as well. Jerry Jones needs to bring some football people in there in the front office, not just him and his kids. It doesn't work. Not in the NFL. Sorry. So they're a huge disappointment. And I will tell you what I think right now after watching them the last few weeks. It pains me to say this. The Giants, I think, are the best team in the division right now. They could be tied for first after this week. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. Somebody's got to win that division, unfortunately. And again, it might be 6 wins, 7 tops, but somebody's going to win. And right now, the Giants, I think, are the best team in the division. We'll see. 5 big weeks to go. Well, 6 big weeks, I guess, depending on how many games you've already played. 6 weeks. The Packers in the North. Packers are starting to pull away. The Bears are starting to kind of come back to earth where they ought to be at 500. The Vikings, I thought, were going to make a run, and just an awful loss to the Cowboys last week. Sorry, Rick Sherlock. Just inexcusable loss at home to a team that is not playing good football. You watch them get blown out at home Thursday to a team that they should have beaten easily. So horrible loss last week. And I don't see now. I thought they would and again, they could still make a run with the expanded playoffs, but we talked about the Lions situation. Pat Patricia out. They'll be looking for a coach and a GM. In the South, we talked a little bit about this. The Saints are red hot. They've won 7 in a row now. They're without Drew Brees for at least another week. I cannot see how he's possibly coming back in next week with 11 fractures to his ribs and a punctured lung. But he's progressing, and we'll see. But they played well last week with Taysom Hill. I don't think – Taysom Hill is a guy who I think can come in and give a change of pace. But I don't think he's going to be a successful NFL quarterback if he were your guy full-time. So they'll probably continue to play some combination of him and Winston as we go forward. The Buccaneers, we touched on their problems before. Again, 7-4. They'll be in the playoffs, but there's some problems there, and Rick has got them done. Yeah, I agree that loss probably finished them, Rick. It's too bad. It's inexcusable in my mind that they lost that game. Back to the South, Panthers 4-7, got a big win last week. But again, they're not in the playoff hunt this year. Again, I say it every week. I like the direction they're heading. I think Matt Rule is a really good coach. They're likely to lose Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator, after the season, either to the NFL or the college ranks as a head coach is going to be my guess. And maybe to the Falcons, who are last in that division. And again, too much talent for that team to be 3-7. That's why Quinn's gone. So we move lastly to the NFC West, which is probably still the best division in football. The The Rams and the Seahawks are tied at 7-3. The Rams, people sleep on the Rams, man. They're playing really good football. They played really good against the Buccaneers the other night. And I love he puts Goff in great situations to succeed. I don't think he's a guy who's going to carry a team on his back to the Super Bowl, but he puts him in great situations. And then you got the Seahawks, who, if Russell Wilson can overcome their defense, that's how far they're going to go. You got to leave at 10:45. We're going to get to the picks right now. Cardinals we talked about. Niners we talked about. We're going to move on to the picks. I don't have my picks which you guys took in front of me on Thursday, so I will add those in afterwards. We're in week 12, NFL picks. So they could be in my thing here. Well, maybe we'll add them in as we go. We'll go a little quicker today for Bill. Getting to be 10:30 anyway. Who's picking? Billy's picking. He's picking. And Drew, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And I'm going to get started. We're going to start with the biggest game of the week at 4:25 today. The Chiefs and the Buccaneers. Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites on the road against Tampa Bay. That's a lot. That's a lot. A lot of road favorites this year. I keep saying it. Tampa Bay is not playing well. Kansas City, underrated on defense. Mahomes, I think this is a game that Mahomes wants to win against Tom Brady. So I'm on Kansas City today, -3.5. You guys can put your picks up as you want. I'm going to keep moving along so that we can get Billy and get all his picks in here. Rick's on the Chiefs. Drew's on the Chiefs. Billy, you got to go at 10:45. Give me your pick. Next game, Billy, I'll get Billy's pick as we go. Chargers at the Bills at 1 p.m. This game's probably kept my Patriots off of TV. Billy's on the Chiefs, by the way. We all got the Chiefs. That was not a good sign last week. I will try to recap our picks from last week, but since we got to do this, I'll keep moving along here. Chargers at the Bills. The Bills are 5.5-point favorites. Seems way low to me. The Bills have played really well at home. They've got an advantage almost all over the field. The Chargers find every way they can to lose games, although Justin Herbert has played very well. I'm on the Bills, -5.5. And Drew's on the Bills. And Billy's on the Bills. Bill's on the Bill. Bill on Bill. And, oh boy, 2 in a row. Everybody's on the same team. Another big game. Titans at the Colts. The Colts are -3.5. This game's at 1 o'clock today. The Titans, again, I talked about how they're up and down, and they shook off their cold streak by beating a tough Baltimore team last week in overtime. The Colts, I do not believe in still. I'm on the Titans +3.5. Sorry, 3.5. I'm on the Titans. Not a big believer in Phillip Rivers. I think they'll get to Phillip Rivers today, and I think the Colts, as good as their defense is, will have trouble stopping Derrick Henry. Rick's got the Colts. Drew's got the Colts. Billy's got the Colts. So Keith is a lone wolf on this game. Going along as fast as I can here. But we don't have that many games to cover because of our games from the other day, which I'll fill in at the end in case Billy's got to go. San Francisco at the Rams. We've talked about San Francisco. The Rams are 7.5. I'm sorry, 7 here. 7-point favorites at home. Talked about the 49ers travails. They've been displaced from their home. Tough spot for the 49ers here. I'm on the Rams -7. I talked about how much I like the Rams and their coach. I think things are just too much up in the air. Although the San Francisco's getting a bit healthy. Jimmy G's not back, but a lot of the running backs are coming back from their injuries, so they could put up a little better fight. But we got the Rams for Rick, the Rams for Drew, and Billy's got the Rams. So we're all on the same team there. 3 out of 4. And those are the marquee games. Here's the rest of the schedule. Raiders at the Falcons. Another road favorite. Raiders. They almost beat the Chiefs for a second time last week, but they're a team that still puzzles me. They're 6-4. They're going to the 3-7 Falcons, who made a coaching change and played better for a few weeks. But I got to take the Raiders here. Again, I don't like those West Coast teams coming east, but I've gone against that strategy most of the year. So I will take the Raiders -3. Rick's on the Raiders. Billy's on the Raiders. I don't know if I saw Drew's pick or not. Drew's got the Raiders. Wow. Guys, we're all going on flames. We're all going to have big scores this week. Well, I don't know. We got to factor in Thursday's games. I lost 2. I'm already down 2. I'm going to skip Thursday from now on, just in general. Thursdays aren't going to happen. I'm not going to get out of bed. Yeah, I don't disagree with Hill being improving over Gurley. Gurley's career is probably not ever going to be the same as it was, for sure. It's a shame. He was a great player, and tough league. It's a tough position, running back. It's amazing when I see guys like Frank Gore have played as long as they played, and then some guys, the average guys don't make it more in a few years. So, Aaron Jones and the Packers are hosting the Bears. Bears are in free fall right now. No quarterback. Foles and Trubisky are both hurt, banged up anyway. Supposedly Tyler Bray will start. Packers are an 8.5-point favorite. I don't think they're going to have any trouble covering 8.5 in this game. So you guys, that's just to repeat that, Packers -8.5 at home against the Bears. Billy's 0-2, I know. We had the delay, so I have a chance to take a drink of my coffee. Boy, guys, I'm telling you, we're all on the Packers. Oh, it could be a big week or a bad week. All right, moving on. Carolina Panthers at the Vikings. The Vikings are -4. Both Teddy Bridgewater and McCaffrey practice this week. It's possible they'll play, and it's possible they won't. So it's just a very tough. They got to bye in week 13, so they may want to give them 2 weeks off to get closer to 100%. The Vikings are the Vikings. I don't know what to make of this. I'm going with the Panthers. I'm taking the Panthers +4 here. I gave the Vikings every chance. I'm going to roll the dice that Bridgewater and McCaffrey play, or at least one of them does. So I know Rick's on the Vikings. Billy's on the Vikings. And Drew is still doing his math. It is a tough game. I agree. Drew's with me on the Panthers. It is a very tough game. It might be the toughest game on the board. The Browns at Jacksonville. Again, a big road favorite. I'm sorry, big road dog. Big road favorite. That's correct. Sorry. Boy. Browns are 7 at Jacksonville. The Browns, I don't know. They're 7-3. There's only a few teams with better records than the Browns, and I still don't believe in them. I still don't believe in Baker Mayfield. But Mike Glennon And raise your hand if you knew Mike Glennon was still in the league. Played for the Browns for a while, if I'm not mistaken. I had no idea that he was still in the league, and he's starting, by the way, for the Jaguars today, which is all I need to to take the Browns -7. Billy's on the Browns. Rick's on the Browns. And Drew's on the Browns. Chubb and Hunt roll. I buy that. We're all on the same team again. Cardinals at the Patriots. Well, we know where I'm going here, right? Murray's banged up. Patriots rarely a home dog. Arizona hasn't necessarily played that well on the road, and they do seem to be up and down. Bill Belichick has had a history of doing well against young quarterbacks. And I don't know why I'm going through all that analysis, because I'm taking the Patriots regardless, +2.5 at home. Billy's on the Cardinals. I'm waiting for the rest of you to pick the Cardinals. Rick's got the Cardinals. Drew's got the Cardinals. I'm always going to have that one loss this year, it looks like, guys. Saints at the Broncos. As I said, we're going to give us a gimme here, guys. I'm not putting any line on this game. I'm just going to say pick a winner. And if I have to put down the Saints for anybody other than nobody, I'd be shocked. I'm going to write down Saints for everybody. You guys can speak up if you want me to stop. I'm giving you a gimme. I guarantee you there'll be no line in that game today. No line. You would not be able to bet it anywhere. Can I howl like a lone wolf? I can't. Dolphins at the Jets. Dolphins are a 7-point favorite. Another big road favorite. Tua had a bad game last week. I think he'll bounce back this week. I just think they're a very well coached team. Yeah, I won't give you 50, Drew. This is going to be an interesting game. I wish I was somewhere where I could watch it. In a non-COVID year, I could watch this games at the recovery room. I could watch all the games. I'm taking the Dolphins -7. I got to get moving along here for Bill. Dolphins for Drew. Jets for Billy. And Rick. I'm going to move on while you're doing your last pick. Jets for Rick. We're almost there, Bill. I'm going to beat the clock. We got 2 games left, I think. Giants at the Bengals. You know the Bengals situation. Joe Burrow with a horrible injury last week. Maybe going to be out longer than the start of next season. It's a shame. He was having a great rookie year. The Giants have played much better. The Giants are 5.5-point favorites at the Bengals. Hard to see the Giants a 5.5-point favorite on the road anywhere, but I cannot go against the Giants this week. So Keith's on the Giants, Rick's on the Giants. Waiting on Drew and Billy, and we'll move to the last game of. Oh, we got 2 more games actually. Now that I think about it, Giants for Billy. I can't believe that Drew will not be taking the Giants, even though he doesn't pick those New Jersey teams. He's got it this week. 2 more games. Seattle at the Eagles. Seattle, another big road favorite. Man, it's been an amazing year. Eagles are in disarray. Wentz is a starter, but they're going to play Jalen Hurts some, as I said earlier. I like the Seahawks, -6. Not as big a deal coming east. They're probably already here. The Seahawks -6. Got to believe I can put Billy down for the Hawks. Seattle. Put Billy down right now. And Drew, your pick, -6, Seahawks at Eagles. There'll be a place the Eagles will jump up and win, right? Been such a tough year. I'll recap the standings when we get through here. I'm just trying to get Billy. I know Billy's got to go. One more pick, Bill. Ravens at the Steelers. We will leave the original line that we had the other day. I don't have my Facebook open today. We already made picks. I'll let anybody change their pick that wants to, but I'm going to put those picks in as they are. I'll find those and I'll add them. I think we might have all taken Pittsburgh. I'm pretty sure we did. And I think it was 4, if I'm not mistaken. You're welcome, Billy. Enjoy whatever you're off to do. Stay safe. Keep staying home today, not going out to watch the game. Good weekend, not to be out and about, taking any risks. Guys, I will, for those of you that are still here, let's just recap last week's. I believe we all took, I can't find that. I'm going to recap last week's games first, and I'll try to find the other games that we did real quick. Our recap for last week, guys, I should have done this before we started, but I always forget to write it down because I'm busy getting so much other information down. Our Week 11 results. The big winner with 7-7 was TGI Sports Talk for the first time in a while. Rick's asking for the record. I'm getting there. So TGI Sports Talk was 7-7 on a season of 73, 84, and 4. Oh my God, it's a damn good thing I pick a couple of winners that I wager on in our wagering team league. Billy P, 6-8. Rick Sherlock, 5-8. Sean McGillen, 3-11. And so TGI Sports Talk was the winner for the week only because the rules dictate there has to be a winner. So I will not be taking any bows for that performance. But I thank you guys for participating every week. I have a blast doing it. I'm going to try to find our chat here. Hold on. Damn it. Can't find it. Where's our chat from the other day, guys? Can't find one I sent you guys. Didn't I do it via Facebook chat? Help me out. This is great TV and video. Where the heck is it? Here it is, right here. I got to get this thing out of my way, though. Get out of my... There we go. All right, here were our picks from the other day. I took the Lions, the Cowboys, and the Steelers. We know I lost on the Lions. No, I lost on the Cowboys. And the Steelers are -4. Boy, what a steal that is, huh? You guys are lucky we picked that game the other day. Rick took the Texans, the Cowboys, and the Steelers. So he's got one win already and one loss. And Drew, I think these picks are above mine. Drew took the Texans, the Cowboys, and the Steelers. So he's also got one win. And I believe Billy was with me, with the Lions, the Cowboys. Oh my! So we all got two gifts today: the Steelers and the Saints. Guys, are we going to get through this season? What do you think? Anybody's still here? Speaking of my wife was not a Perth Red Raider. My wife grew up on Long Island, along with my brother-in-law, Drew, who is one of our regulars. And, so she moved up here, oh gosh, I don't know. Drew, you can probably help me better, 30 years ago. After spending some time in Boston. So she's a Patriot fan as well. So no, she is not a Red Raider. Hopefully that's not too politically incorrect these days. I don't care that it is. hate that we don't have our name anymore. I hate that we don't have our school anymore, Rick. But it is what it is. I guess you have to move along with the times in some places. So, thanks for asking, though. But she is a wonderful, wonderful person, as I mentioned early in this show. And I mentioned in my Thanksgiving vlog, she is, the best thing that ever happened to me. And I thank her for spending the last 8.5 months or 8 months, whatever we're at now, heading towards 9 months, 24/7 working from home. You guys who are retired might know what it's like, but it's a new world, and putting up with me 24/7 is not an easy task. I know this. I live with myself 24/7 for the last 60 plus years. So anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up today. Big week in college football, as I said. Lots of new news with the COVID situation. College basketball getting started. Lots of problems there. Let's pray we get through this season, these seasons. Let's pray everybody stays healthy. Let's pray that the Thanksgiving holiday doesn't cause the big spike that we're fearing. It's keeping me in now for a few weeks, I can tell you, just because I don't want to be concerned about it. But, we're going to get through this. We're resilient, as I said. We've had a great run here. I'm having a blast doing the show. This has been the best thing that COVID has brought out for me. It's a great distraction. It's a fun hobby. I enjoy being with you guys on Fridays and Sundays, and maybe we'll be expanding. I do my vlogs now. We'll see what else we do. My guest, I want to thank my guest last week, by the way. If you haven't watched last week's show, watch it. I had the great Larry Farmer, former UCLA head coach and star player for the Bruins back in their heyday. And it was a great interview. Larry is a tremendously class individual. And I'll have next week on Friday, Hank Golo. We're going to talk more about the NFL and probably some Masters golf. But join us then, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. TGI Sports Talk with Keith Dango. Have a great Sunday with football. It's a beautiful day. Take a walk. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.